The information provided in this video is for educational and entertainment purposes only and does not constitute professional financial, legal, or career advice. Scholarship criteria, deadlines, and availability are subject to change based on the policies of the awarding institutions and private organizations. Historical trends in financial aid do not indicate future results. Viewers are strongly encouraged to conduct their own due diligence, verify all requirements with their university's financial aid office, and consult with a professional advisor before making significant financial decisions regarding their education. You are likely overpaying for your college degree by tens of thousands of dollars, not because you aren't qualified for aid, but because you are looking for money in the exact same places as everyone else. While millions of students are fighting over the same 5 national scholarships they found on a Google search, there is a massive pool of localized, departmental, and demographic-specific funding that goes unassigned every single year. We are talking about millions of dollars in institutional and private capital that is sitting in accounts specifically reserved for students who are already enrolled in classes. Most people believe that once you finish your freshman year, the window for significant scholarship aid has slammed shut. They assume that if they didn't get a full ride at 18, they are stuck with the bill until graduation. That assumption is one of the most expensive mistakes you can make in your academic career. The reality is that being an upperclassman, a transfer student, or a returning adult learner actually makes you more eligible for certain types of funding than a high school senior. Why? Because you have something a high schooler doesn't, a college GPA. You have proven you can handle the rigors of higher education. You have a declared major. You have built relationships with faculty. This video is a deep dive masterclass designed to remap your entire financial strategy. We are going to deconstruct the architecture of hidden scholarships, moving far beyond the surface level advice of using search engines. By the time we are finished with this 10-part series, you will understand how to navigate the internal databases of your own university, how to leverage professional associations in your specific field, and how to access the trillions of dollars in corporate social responsibility funds that companies are desperate to distribute to the next generation of the workforce. The problem we are solving today is the stagnant financial aid package. Many students receive their initial award letter, see a gap of $5, $10, or $20,000, and simply accept that they will need to bridge that gap with high-interest private loans. We are going to show you how to treat your education like a business where the goal is to lower your overhead every single semester. We will analyze case studies of students who entered their sophomore year with debt and graduated with a surplus by identifying niche opportunities that 99% of their peers ignored. To understand why these scholarships remain hidden, we have to look at the mechanics of how they are funded. Large, national scholarships like the Coca-Cola Scholars Program or the Gates Scholarship are designed for brand visibility. They want the highest volume of applicants possible to increase the prestige of the award. However, thousands of smaller funds are established by alumni through endowments or by small professional guilds that don't have a marketing budget. They don't have a social media presence. They might only be listed on a PDF buried 3 layers deep on a university's departmental website. For example, a local chapter of a civil engineering society might offer a $5,000 scholarship specifically for juniors at a specific state school. If only 3 students apply because the application was only mentioned in a department newsletter, those students have a statistically massive advantage compared to someone applying for a national award with 50,000 applicants. We also have to discuss the concept of the unclaimed fund myth versus the underapplied reality. You may have heard people claim that billions in scholarships go unclaimed. While the billions figure is often an exaggeration used by predatory search services, it is a historical trend that niche scholarships often receive fewer qualified applicants than the number of awards available. This is especially true for stackable scholarships, awards ranging from $500 to $2,000. Students often overlook these because they feel the effort of the essay isn't worth a relatively small amount of money. This is a fundamental misunderstanding of the time-to-value ratio. If it takes you 4 hours to write a high-quality essay for a $1,000 scholarship and you win it, you have effectively earned $250 an hour. That is a higher rate of return than almost any part-time job available to a college student. In this masterclass, we will provide a step-by-step framework for identifying these micro-opportunities. We will look at how to use the common data set of your university to see where the money is actually flowing. We will explore the transfer trap and how to turn it into a transfer treasure, specifically looking at how students moving from community colleges to 4-year institutions can unlock specific bridge grants that are never advertised to the general public. Consider the case of departmental endowments. Every major university is comprised of various colleges: the College of Liberal Arts, the College of Engineering, the College of Business. Each of these colleges has its own development office. These offices work with donors who specifically want their money to go to, for instance, a female student studying organic chemistry or a first-generation student pursuing a degree in maritime law. Because these requirements are so specific, the pool of eligible candidates is naturally small. We will show you exactly how to approach your department head or the dean of students to inquire about these specific discretionary funds. Often, these funds are not even listed on the main financial aid website because they are managed at the departmental level. Furthermore, we will analyze the role of professional associations. If you are a member of a student chapter of a national organization, whether it's the American Marketing Association, the Society of Women Engineers, or the National Association of Black Accountants, you are eligible for private funding that is restricted to members. Many students join these organizations for the networking but completely ignore the awards or grants tab on the national website. These organizations are funded by corporate partners who view these scholarships as a recruitment tool. By funding your junior or senior year, they are essentially buying the first right of refusal for your talent once you graduate. We are also going to break down the residual aid strategy. This involves looking for funding sources tied to your specific geography or family background that have nothing to do with your university. There are community foundations in almost every major U.S. county that manage hundreds of small scholarships. These foundations are often overlooked by college students who think these awards are only for graduating high school seniors. In reality, many of these foundations have continuing education scholarships designed for students already in the thick of their degree. This isn't just about finding a list of links. This is about a fundamental shift in your identity from a passive recipient of financial aid to an active seeker of educational capital. We are going to teach you how to build a scholarship flywheel, where the honors and awards you win this semester become the social proof that helps you win even larger awards next semester. We will examine how to document your extracurricular impact and academic progress in a way that makes you an undeniable candidate for donors. The stakes could not be higher. The average student loan debt in the United States has reached levels that can delay homeownership, marriage, and retirement by a decade or more. By identifying and securing even 2 or 3 hidden scholarships during your sophomore, junior, and senior years, you could potentially reduce your total debt burden by 30 to 50%. This is about more than just paying for books. It is about your long-term financial freedom. We are going to go through the data, the search strategies, and the application tactics that the top 1% of students use to graduate debt-free. This is part 1 of your journey toward a fully funded education. Turn off your notifications, grab a notebook, and prepare to deep dive into the world of hidden institutional wealth. The foundational error most students make is assuming the financial aid office is a static vending machine where you put in a FAFSA and out comes a fixed amount of money for 4 years. In 2026, the landscape of institutional wealth is more like a shifting ecosystem, and if you are not tracking the migration of funds, you are leaving thousands on the table. Let us look at the concept of the mid-degree reevaluation. Imagine a student named Jordan, a sophomore at a large state university in Ohio. In 2024, Jordan entered college with a standard package: a Pell Grant, a small merit scholarship from high school, and a massive gap covered by Parent Plus loans. By the spring of 2025, Jordan assumed the financial struggle was just a permanent part of the college experience. But what Jordan did not realize was that the university's endowment for the College of Engineering had just received a 7-figure donation from an alum specifically intended for students maintaining a 3.2 GPA in their second year. Because Jordan never checked the departmental portal after freshman orientation, that money went to a classmate who simply filled out a 1-page internal application. This is the first pillar of our masterclass: the internal audit of departmental wealth. Most major universities in the United States have a fragmented scholarship system. While the Central Financial Aid Office handles federal and state grants, the individual colleges, like the School of Nursing, the School of Journalism, or the Department of Physics, often manage their own private endowments. These are funds donated by alumni who want to support their specific field. Historical trends show that these departmental awards have some of the highest success rates for applicants because the eligibility pool is restricted only to students within that major. To execute an internal audit, you must go beyond the university's main scholarship search tool. Step 1 is to identify the development officer for your specific college. This is not a financial aid counselor. This is the person whose job is to manage relationships with donors. Their names are usually listed under the directory or giving tab of your department's website. You are looking for someone with a title like Director of Development or Scholarship Coordinator. Step 2 is to request a meeting or send a professional inquiry regarding restricted funds. Use specific language. Ask if there are any donor-advised funds or departmental awards that have specific criteria, such as geographical requirements, community service milestones, or research interests. Historical data from 2025 suggests that students who engage directly with departmental heads or development officers are often the first to be notified when a new scholarship fund is established mid-year. In many cases, these funds are so new or so specific that they aren't even integrated into the automated matching systems yet. Now, let us pivot to a strategy that is almost entirely ignored: the professional association pipeline. Every career path in the United States has a governing body or a national association. Whether you are studying accounting, horticulture, or cybersecurity, there is an organization like the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants or the National Society of Professional Engineers. These organizations are not just for people who already have jobs. In 2026, these associations are aggressively funding student chapters to ensure a steady pipeline of talent into their industries. Imagine if you are a junior studying supply chain management. By joining the local chapter of a professional logistics association, you suddenly gain access to a private portal of scholarships that are only available to student members. These awards often range from $1,000 to $5,000. The competitive advantage here is massive. While 5,000 students might apply for a generic Walmart scholarship, only 40 students might apply for the regional scholarship offered by a state-level professional association. Step by step, you should list every professional organization related to your major. Create a spreadsheet. Look for the student membership section. Often, the cost of membership is waived or deeply discounted for current students. Once you are a member, look for the foundation or philanthropic arm of the organization. Beyond professional associations, we must discuss the corporate social responsibility or CSR sector. In 2026, major U.S. corporations are shifting their scholarship focus away from high school seniors and toward retention grants for current college students. They have realized that it is better for their brand to help a student finish their degree than to help them start a degree they might not complete. Companies like Boeing, Google, and Starbucks have massive foundations, but so do mid-sized regional companies in your state. Look at the top 50 employers in your university's home state. Visit their corporate websites and search for community impact or education initiatives. Often, these companies offer scholarships to students attending local universities who are studying fields relevant to their business. For example, a regional energy company in the Pacific Northwest might offer a renewable energy scholarship for students at any university in Washington or Oregon. Case studies of successful applicants show a recurring theme: the ability to articulate how their education will solve a problem for that specific company or industry. This is where your application strategy must shift from a narrative of need to a narrative of value. Donors are not just giving money, they are investing in a future outcome. If you are applying for a scholarship from a local manufacturing firm, your essay should not just focus on your tuition bill. It should focus on your research into sustainable manufacturing processes, or your commitment to staying in the region to grow the local economy after graduation. Historical trends indicate that local donors are significantly more likely to fund students who express an interest in remaining in the community. Another hidden layer of the scholarship world is the civic and service organization network. Organizations like Rotary International, the Elks Club, and the Lions Club have been funding education for decades. However, in 2026, many of these local chapters are struggling to find applicants because students assume these organizations are only for older generations. These clubs often have specialized funds for students who demonstrate leadership or a commitment to community service while in college. If you have been volunteering at a local food bank or leading a student organization on campus, you are the ideal candidate for these awards. Step by step, you should reach out to the secretary of the local chapters of these clubs in your college town and your hometown. A simple professional email asking if they offer continuing education grants can open doors that are never found on a search engine. We also need to talk about the labor union scholarship. If you, your parent, or even a grandparent is a member of a labor union, such as the AFL-CIO, the Teamsters, or a teachers union, you are likely eligible for significant private funding. These are among the most underutilized funds in the country because the information is often distributed through union newsletters rather than university channels. The depth of this strategy requires you to become a researcher of your own life. Every affiliation you have, your ethnicity, your religious background, your hobbies, even your medical history, can be a gateway to a niche scholarship. There are awards for students who are left-handed, students who have overcome specific health challenges, and students who participate in niche sports like competitive archery or equestrian events. In 2026, the specificity of your search is your greatest asset. You are not just looking for free money. You are hunting for capital that has been set aside for someone exactly like you. But finding the money is only half the battle. The other half is the mechanics of the application, and this is where most students fail even after they find a hidden gem. They use the same generic essay they wrote for their university application 2 years ago. To understand what actually influences the final decision of a scholarship committee in 2026, we have to look past the transcript. Most students believe that a 4.0 GPA is a golden ticket, but historical trends in scholarship selection reveal a much more nuanced reality. Selection committees are often comprised of humans, professors, alumni, and community leaders who are suffering from decision fatigue. They might read 500 essays in a single weekend. If your essay reads like a standard academic report, you have already lost. They aren't just looking for the smartest student. They are looking for the student who represents the best return on their investment. They are looking for a story that bridges the gap between where you are now and the leader you will become in your field. Imagine a student named Marcus, a junior at the University of Texas at Austin. Marcus has a 3.5 GPA, which is solid but not the highest in his class. He is applying for a restricted endowment from the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. His competitor, Sarah, has a 3.9 GPA, but her essay is a list of her accomplishments. Marcus, however, writes about a specific challenge he faced while managing a student-run volunteer clinic in East Austin. He details how he had to navigate a budget shortfall of $2,000 and the specific steps he took to partner with local grocery stores to keep the clinic stocked. Marcus isn't just telling them he is a good student. He is showing them he has the resilience and executive function that a donor wants to see in a future professional. Case studies of successful mid-degree applicants show that those who highlight soft skills and real-world problem-solving often outperform those with perfect grades who lack a clear narrative. The first step in mastering this psychological game is the narrative pivot. You need to move from the what to the why and the how. Instead of saying you are a biology major, you need to explain how your specific research into microplastics in local waterways sparked a desire to work in environmental policy. Step by step, you should audit your resume not for titles but for stories. For every internship or club membership, write down one specific moment of conflict and how you resolved it. This is what we call the STAR method: situation, task, action, result, but tailored for scholarship committees. In 2026, committees are particularly interested in the result. They want to see data. Did you increase club membership by 20%? Did you help save your department $500 on lab supplies? Quantifiable impact is the language of donors. Now, let us address the ethical use of AI in 2026 for your scholarship hunt. You should never let a large language model write your essay from scratch. Selection committees are increasingly using sophisticated detection tools, and the loss of your authentic voice is a high price to pay. However, you can use AI as a high-level research assistant. For instance, you can feed a scholarship's mission statement into a tool and ask it to identify the core values the organization prioritizes. If the mission statement emphasizes global citizenship and sustainable development, you know to highlight your study abroad experience or your volunteer work with international nonprofits. You are using technology to align your authentic experiences with the specific goals of the donor. This alignment is the key to moving from the large pool of applicants to the short list of finalists. We also have to discuss the concept of social proof in scholarship applications. In 2026, a letter of recommendation is not just a formality. It is a critical piece of evidence. Most students make the mistake of asking a professor who barely knows them just because they got an A in their class. Historical trends show that the most effective letters come from mentors who can speak to your character and your growth. If you are a sophomore or junior, you have the advantage of time. You should be actively cultivating relationships with faculty members through office hours and research projects. A letter that says Marcus is a brilliant student is fine. A letter that says I watched Marcus stay after hours for 3 weeks to help a struggling peer master organic chemistry is a game changer. That letter provides the committee with a window into your soul that no GPA can offer. Let's dive into a specific, high-stakes scenario: the scholarship interview. Many of the most lucrative hidden awards, particularly those offered by private family foundations or prestigious alumni groups, require a final round interview. This is where many students freeze. They treat it like a test where there are right and wrong answers. In reality, it is a behavioral assessment. Imagine if you are sitting across from a board of directors for a regional bank that offers a $10,000 scholarship. They might ask you a question like, what is the biggest mistake you've made in college so far? A student who tries to pivot to a fake weakness like I work too hard will be seen through immediately. A student who says, I underestimated the difficulty of my sophomore year and my grades slipped, but here is the specific organizational system I built to fix it, demonstrates maturity and accountability. Step-by-step preparation for these interviews involves more than just practicing answers. You need to research the people on the committee. In 2026, information is everywhere. If you know the scholarship is funded by a local entrepreneur, read about their business philosophy. If you can reference a specific project their company recently completed that aligns with your career goals, you have instantly differentiated yourself from every other candidate. You are showing them that you are already operating at a professional level. You aren't just a student asking for a handout. You are a peer looking for a partnership. Furthermore, we need to talk about the timing of the hidden market. There is a historical trend where many private scholarships have deadlines in the spring, March, and April for the following academic year. However, there is a secondary market of scholarships with deadlines in October and November. These are often the least competitive because most students are focused on their midterms and haven't even started thinking about the next semester's tuition. By being on a different schedule than the masses, you increase your potential outcomes. You should be searching for scholarships 12 months a year, not just in the summer. Set a recurring calendar alert for the first of every month to spend 2 hours hunting for new opportunities that may have just been posted. In 2026, another hidden goldmine is the employer-sponsored scholarship for current students. Many major retailers and service industry giants like Amazon, Walmart, and even local hospital systems have expanded their tuition assistance programs. Often, these programs aren't just for full-time corporate employees. They are available to part-time workers after a few months of service. If you are working 20 hours a week while in school, you need to check your employee handbook or talk to HR today. Some companies offer up to $5,000 a year in direct tuition payments that go straight to your school. This is money that often goes unused because students don't realize that their part-time job as a barista or a warehouse associate has a built-in scholarship fund. But what if your background doesn't fit the typical mold? What if you are a non-traditional student, a parent returning to school, or someone who took a gap year? In 2026, the market for adult learners is exploding. Organizations like the Bernard Osher Foundation provide specialized scholarships for students who have had a break in their education of 5 years or more. These are some of the most generous and least publicized awards in the country. If you fit this demographic, your narrative should not focus on the time you lost, but on the life experience you gained and how that makes you a more dedicated and focused student now. As we move deeper into this masterclass, we are going to look at how to navigate the specific complexities of the FAFSA and the CSS profile in 2026 to ensure you aren't accidentally disqualifying yourself from need-based aid that can be stacked on top of your private scholarships. We will also explore the often misunderstood world of tuition discounting, where you can actually negotiate your financial aid package with the university, even as a current student. Most people think the price is the price, but we will show you the historical data that proves otherwise. In the next part, we will reveal the exact scripts you can use to talk to the financial aid office when your family's financial situation changes mid-semester. If you have ever felt like you were just a number in a giant system, you are about to learn how to make that system work for you. The mechanism of the financial aid appeal is one of the most powerful yet underutilized tools in the arsenal of a current college student. In 2026, many students operate under the misconception that the financial aid package they received in their freshman year is a legally binding contract that cannot be altered. This is a fundamental misunderstanding of how university enrollment management works. Universities operate on a model of retention. It is significantly more expensive for a university to recruit a new student to replace you than it is for them to provide a small supplemental grant to keep you enrolled. This brings us to the professional judgment review. Under federal law, financial aid administrators have the authority to adjust your data on the FAFSA to reflect your current financial reality, which may be vastly different from the tax returns you filed 2 years ago. Imagine a student named Chloe, a sophomore at a mid-sized private university in Pennsylvania. In late 2025, Chloe's family faced a significant financial setback when her father's small business was impacted by a regional economic downturn. Her original financial aid package was based on a high-earning year from 2023. By the start of the spring 2026 semester, the family's ability to pay the expected family contribution had evaporated. Chloe didn't just drop out or take more loans. She initiated a formal appeal based on a change in circumstances. By providing a clear, documented narrative and updated financial records, Chloe was able to secure an additional $7,000 in institutional need-based grants for the remainder of the academic year. This was not a scholarship she applied for in a traditional sense. It was a reevaluation of her existing aid based on new data. To execute this, you must understand the step-by-step process of a formal appeal. Step 1 is identifying the trigger. Valid triggers for an appeal include the loss of a job, a significant reduction in income, high unreimbursed medical expenses, or a change in your parents' marital status. In 2026, universities are also increasingly considering the impact of inflation on a family's disposable income as a secondary factor. Step 2 is the gathering of evidence. You cannot simply tell the financial aid office that things are tight. You need a paper trail, termination letters, medical bills, or updated pay stubs. Step 3 is the appeal letter itself. This letter must be professional, concise, and focused on facts rather than emotion. You are presenting a business case for why the university should invest in your retention. The historical trends of 2025 show that students who include a budget of their current expenses and a clear explanation of how the additional funds will ensure their graduation are more likely to see a positive outcome. You should explicitly state that you have explored all other avenues, including private scholarships and campus employment, to show that you are taking responsibility for your situation. This leads us into another massive source of hidden funding: the emergency grant. Many institutions have established emergency funds specifically for students facing immediate financial crises that threaten their ability to stay in school. These funds are often not advertised on the main financial aid page. They are frequently managed by the Office of Student Affairs or the Dean of Students. These emergency grants are typically small, ranging from $500 to $2,000, but they can be the difference between completing a semester and having to withdraw. Case studies from 2026 show that these funds are often used to cover unexpected costs like car repairs for commuting students, emergency dental work, or sudden housing instability. The key to accessing these funds is knowing they exist and being willing to ask. Imagine if you are a student named Alex who relies on an old car to get to campus. If that car breaks down and you don't have the $1,200 for a new transmission, your entire education is at risk. By approaching the Dean of Students and explaining that your academic progress is being halted by a specific, one-time financial hurdle, you may unlock a grant that never has to be repaid. Another often overlooked area is the research and travel grant. If you are a junior or senior in 2026, you are likely involved in more advanced coursework or capstone projects. Many departments have dedicated funds to help students present their research at national conferences or to cover the costs of specialized materials for a senior thesis. These are effectively scholarships that are hidden in plain sight. For example, a student in the geography department might find a grant that covers the cost of a 3-week field study in the Appalachian Mountains. By securing these grants, you are effectively reducing the overall cost of your education by offloading the expenses of high-impact learning experiences that would otherwise come out of your pocket. We also need to discuss the role of the resident assistant or RA position. While not a traditional scholarship, the RA role is one of the most significant financial aid boosters available to current students. In 2026, the value of room and board at most U.S. universities has outpaced the rate of tuition increases. By serving as an RA, you are often receiving a benefit worth $10,000 to $15,000 a year. This is a high-stakes, high-responsibility role, but for the student who can manage the time, it is the equivalent of winning a major national scholarship every single year. Historical data indicates that RAs also develop leadership and conflict resolution skills that make them highly competitive for private scholarships and postgraduate employment. Beyond the university walls, we must explore the world of specialty foundations. In the United States, there are thousands of private foundations established by families to honor the memory of a loved one or to support a very specific cause. These foundations might only give out 1 or 2 scholarships a year, and because they don't have a presence on major scholarship search engines, they often receive very few applicants. For example, there is a foundation in the Midwest that provides a scholarship specifically for students who have a parent who is a cancer survivor. There are foundations that support students who are the first in their family to pursue a career in the arts. To find these, you have to use advanced search techniques. Instead of searching for scholarships for college students, use Google's site-specific search operators to look for .org websites that mention your specific life experience, along with the word scholarship. Imagine if you spent 3 hours a week doing this kind of deep web research. In 2026, the volume of digital information is so vast that the winners are the ones who can filter the noise. You are looking for the foundations that don't have a social media manager. You are looking for the ones that still ask you to mail in a physical application. These are the opportunities where the competition is at its lowest. We have seen case studies of students who have stitched together 4 or 5 of these small $500 foundation grants to cover the entire cost of their textbooks and lab fees for a year. Step by step, you should build a database of these niche foundations. Note the deadline, the specific requirement, and the name of the foundation's director. Often, these foundations are run by a small board of trustees. A polite phone call to the foundation office to clarify a requirement can sometimes lead to a conversation that makes your name stand out when the board meets to review applications. This is the human element of the scholarship hunt. People want to give money to people they believe in. But as you start to accumulate these various sources of aid, the departmental grants, the professional association awards, the emergency funds, and the niche foundation checks, you will run into a major roadblock that most students don't see coming: scholarship displacement. This is a practice where a university reduces your institutional aid because you won an outside scholarship, essentially leaving you with the same net cost. It is a frustrating reality of the American higher education system in 2026. However, there are specific legal strategies to combat this and ensure that the extra money you worked so hard to find actually stays in your pocket. In the next part of this masterclass, we are going to dive deep into the policy of displacement. We will show you exactly how to read your university's financial aid handbook to find the loopholes that allow you to stack your awards. We will also look at the states that have passed legislation to ban this practice and how you can use that as leverage in your negotiations. If you've ever wondered why your financial aid goes down when your scholarships go up, you cannot afford to miss the next 10 minutes. Scholarship displacement is the silent killer of financial aid packages in the United States, and in 2026, it remains one of the most frustrating obstacles for high-achieving students. To understand this, you must first understand the concept of the cost of attendance, or COA. Every university establishes a ceiling for how much they believe a student needs to spend on tuition, housing, books, and personal expenses for one academic year. Under federal regulations, a student's total financial aid, including grants, loans, work-study, and outside scholarships, cannot exceed this COA ceiling. When you win an outside scholarship, such as a $2,000 award from a local community foundation, the university sees that your total aid has now exceeded the ceiling. To bring you back under the limit, they often reduce your institutional aid. In the worst-case scenarios, they reduce your university-funded grants, meaning your hard work in applying for that scholarship resulted in zero net gain for your bank account. Imagine a student named Maya, a junior majoring in environmental science at a university in Colorado in 2026. Maya spends her winter break applying for niche scholarships and successfully wins a $5,000 award from a national conservation group. She is thrilled, thinking this will cover her entire housing bill for the spring. However, 3 weeks later, she receives an email from the financial aid office. Because she received that outside $5,000 award, the university has decided to reduce her University Excellence Grant by the same $5,000. Maya is left with the exact same bill she had before she won the award. This is the displacement trap. Historical trends show that nearly 50% of private colleges and a significant portion of public universities practice some form of displacement unless state law prohibits it. The good news is that by 2026, the legislative landscape is shifting. Several states, including California, Maryland, New Jersey, Washington, and Pennsylvania, have passed laws that significantly limit or outright ban scholarship displacement for students at public institutions. If you are attending school in one of these states, your first step is to cite the specific state statute in your communication with the financial aid office. You must be your own advocate. You can send a professional inquiry stating that under the state's current legislative framework, outside scholarships should be applied to reduce your self-help aid, meaning your loans and work-study, before any institutional grants are touched. But what if you aren't in one of those states? You need to execute the cost of attendance adjustment strategy. This is a step-by-step process to manually raise your ceiling. If the university's COA is set at $35,000, but you can prove that your actual expenses are $40,000, you create a $5,000 gap that can be filled by outside scholarships without triggering displacement. Step 1 is to identify overlooked expenses. In 2026, universities often use outdated estimates for housing and transportation. If you live off campus and your rent has increased due to regional inflation, you can submit a copy of your lease agreement to request an increase in your housing allowance. Step 2 involves specialized equipment. If you are an architecture student like Tyler, a senior in 2026, your costs for high-end rendering software, physical modeling materials, and a specialized workstation might exceed the standard book and supply allowance by thousands of dollars. Tyler can submit a request for cost of attendance increase form, backed by receipts and a syllabus from his professor stating that these materials are mandatory. By raising his COA from $40,000 to $43,000, Tyler allows himself the room to keep a $3,000 scholarship from a local design firm that would have otherwise been displaced. Step 3 focuses on professional development and health. Many students don't realize that the cost of a university-sponsored health insurance plan, if you are not covered by your parents, can be added to your COA. Furthermore, in 2026, if you are required to travel for an internship or a clinical rotation, those transportation costs are valid reasons for a budget increase. By meticulously documenting every cent you spend that falls outside the generic university estimate, you are building a defensive wall around your scholarships. Another critical tactic is the loan first displacement request. If your university insists on displacement, you should fight to ensure they displace your highest interest loans first, then your work study, and only as a last resort, your grants. Most financial aid software is programmed to automatically reduce the easiest line item, which is often the university grant. You need to intervene manually. Write a letter to your financial aid counselor stating, "I am writing to request that my recently awarded $500 scholarship from the local Lions Club be applied toward my unsubsidized federal loans. I would like to maintain my institutional grant funding to ensure my continued enrollment and academic focus." Case studies of students who use this specific phrasing show a much higher success rate in retaining their grant money. You are making it clear that you understand the mechanics of the system and that you are prioritizing the reduction of your future debt. This professional, data-driven approach is far more effective than a generic plea for help. You are essentially telling the university that their retention of you as a student depends on their willingness to let you keep the funds you earned through your own merit. We must also look at the timing of disclosure. Some students wait until the very last minute to report outside scholarships, hoping the financial aid office won't notice until the semester has already started. In 2026, this is a risky strategy. Automated data sharing between scholarship providers and university systems is more efficient than ever. If you wait and the university discovers the award after they have already disbursed your aid, they may place a hold on your account or even create a balance due for the following semester to recoup the over-award. The proactive approach is always better. By discussing your potential outside awards with a counselor in the summer or early fall, you can plan your COA increases ahead of time, ensuring a smooth financial transition. Consider the scenario of the stackable award. This is where you win multiple small awards from different sources. If you win 10 awards of $500 each, the university may view this as a $5,000 lump sum. However, each of those awards may have specific restricted uses. For example, one might be specifically for books while another is for specialized lab fees. If you can show that these awards are restricted to expenses not covered by your institutional grant, you have a much stronger case for keeping both. You should always ask your scholarship donors for a letter stating exactly what the funds are intended for. A letter that says this fund is specifically for the purchase of a laptop and professional attire for internships provides the financial aid office with the documentation they need to classify it as a non-displaceable expense. As we move forward in this deep dive masterclass, we have to address a harsh reality. Sometimes the scholarship you win actually costs you more in taxes or administrative fees if you don't handle it correctly. In 2026, the tax implications of scholarship money used for non-tuition expenses, like room and board, are a major pitfall for unsuspecting students. We are going to break down the exact IRS guidelines you need to follow to ensure your scholarship remains a net positive. We will also explore the secret world of international scholarships for U.S. students studying abroad, which operate under a completely different set of rules. But before we get to the tax codes and international grants, we need to talk about the single most powerful document in your scholarship arsenal that we haven't touched on yet. This one document can turn a rejected application into a winning one in less than 5 minutes of editing. It is the follow-up protocol that 95% of students ignore, and it is the subject of the next part of this series. If you've ever been ghosted by a scholarship committee, you need to see this. The silence that follows a scholarship submission is where most dreams of debt-free graduation go to die. In 2026, the scholarship application process has become so digitized and automated that students treat it like a lottery ticket. They buy it, scratch it, and if they don't see an immediate win, they throw it in the trash. This is a massive strategic error. The period between hitting the submit button and receiving a final decision is not a waiting period. It is an active phase of the scholarship lifecycle that we call the follow-up protocol. Historical trends in 2025 and early 2026 indicate that the students who maintain a professional presence in the minds of the selection committee are significantly more likely to see positive potential outcomes, especially when it comes to small, local, or donor-advised funds where the human element still outweighs the algorithm. Imagine a student named Carlos, a junior studying social work in Chicago. Carlos identifies a niche scholarship offered by a local community foundation for students committed to urban development. He spends weeks on his essay, gathers his transcripts, and submits everything 2 days before the deadline. Then, like 95% of his peers, he does nothing. He waits. Meanwhile, another student, let's call her Sophia, submits her application for the same fund. But Sophia understands the psychology of the scholarship coordinator. 3 days after the deadline, Sophia sends a brief, professional email to the contact person listed on the foundation's website. She doesn't ask if she won. She confirms that her materials were received in full and expresses her continued excitement about the organization's mission. This simple act of confirmation does 2 things. First, it ensures that no technical glitch in the 2026 submission portals has sidelined her application. Second, it attaches a human voice to a digital file. When the committee meets to review 50 applications, Sophia is no longer just a PDF. She is the polite student who followed up. This is step 1 of the protocol, the 72-hour confirmation. Even if the portal says submitted, a manual check-in with the scholarship administrator is a high-value move. You are looking to build a rapport. In your email, mention a specific detail about the foundation that resonated with you. This shows you didn't just copy and paste your inquiry to 20 different organizations. Now let's look at the more difficult scenario, the black hole. You have followed up, the deadline has passed by a month, and you have heard absolutely nothing. Most students assume they were rejected and move on. In 2026, however, administrative delays are common due to the sheer volume of applicants and the transition to new AI-assisted screening tools. This is where the 2-week post-deadline inquiry comes into play. You are not pestering. You are seeking a timeline. A professional inquiry might look like this. Dear Scholarship Coordinator, I am writing to follow up on the progress of the Urban Development Scholarship. I am currently finalizing my financial planning for the upcoming semester and was wondering if a timeline for the final selection has been established. Thank you for your time and for all you do to support students. By framing your inquiry around your own financial planning, you are demonstrating the very responsibility and executive function that donors want to verify in their recipients. You are showing that you treat your education like a business. Case studies of students in 2025 who utilized this specific follow-up language found that they often received insider information, such as a notice that the committee was running behind or that they were in the final pool of 10 candidates. This information is gold. It allows you to adjust your other funding searches or your work-study hours accordingly. But what happens when the answer is no? This is where the follow-up protocol moves into advanced territory. In the scholarship world, a rejection is not a closed door. It is a data point. Historical trends show that many students who are rejected for a scholarship in their sophomore year go on to win it in their junior year, but only if they handle the rejection correctly. Step 3 is the post-rejection feedback loop. If you receive a rejection, wait 24 hours to process the emotion, and then send a thank you note. Yes, you are thanking them for rejecting you. You write, "Thank you for notifying me of your decision. While I am disappointed not to have been selected this year, I remain deeply committed to my studies in social work. If the committee has a moment, I would greatly appreciate any feedback on how I can strengthen my candidacy for future cycles." Imagine if you are the scholarship coordinator reading that. In a world of entitled emails and ghosting, this level of professional maturity is shocking. It sets you apart so drastically that the coordinator may actually take 5 minutes to look at your file and give you a real answer. They might tell you that your community service hours were great, but they wanted to see more leadership roles. Now you have a roadmap for exactly what to do over the next 12 months to secure that funding in 2027. Furthermore, there is a phenomenon known as the second chance pool. Occasionally, a selected winner is unable to accept the award because they transferred schools, received a full ride elsewhere, or failed to meet a final GPA requirement. When that happens, the committee goes back to the list. Who do you think they are going to pick? The student who vanished, or the student who sent a graceful thank you note and asked for feedback? Case studies from 2026 suggest that these backfill awards happen more often than institutions publicly admit. We also have to discuss the stewardship of the win. If you do win, the follow-up doesn't end with the check. In 2026, donor retention is a massive focus for universities. Donors want to know their money is making a difference. If you receive a scholarship, you should be sending a mid-semester update. A short letter or a 1-minute video update sent to the donor or the foundation office can have a massive impact on your future potential outcomes. Tell them about a specific class you are enjoying or a research project you just started. This turns a one-time transaction into a long-term relationship. Many private scholarships are renewable, but even those that aren't often have unlisted funds for students who have proven themselves to be good stewards of the initial award. Step by step, you should maintain a CRM, a customer relationship management spreadsheet, for your scholarships. List every contact person you have spoken to. Note the date of your last communication. If a donor mentioned they have a passion for a specific cause, note that down. When you see a news article related to that cause, send it to them with a brief note. You are building a network of advocates. In 2026, who you know is often a direct result of how you treat the people you meet during the application process. The depth of this protocol extends to the letters of recommendation you gathered. Most students never tell their professors whether they won or lost. This is a bridge-burning mistake. If a professor spent an hour writing a letter for you, they are invested in your success. Follow up with them regardless of the outcome. If you won, thank them for their support and tell them how the money will help you. If you lost, thank them for the letter and tell them what you learned from the process. This ensures that when you need a letter for an even bigger scholarship next year, that professor will be the first to say yes. As we move toward the final stages of this masterclass, we have to address the technical and legal side of the scholarship hunt. Specifically, we need to talk about the IRS. In 2026, the taxability of scholarship funds is a topic that causes immense stress for students and their families. If you are using scholarship money for anything other than tuition and required fees, you might be looking at a tax bill you didn't plan for. We are going to dive into the exact step-by-step breakdown of how to track your expenses to minimize your tax liability. We will also explore the often ignored world of international hidden scholarships. Did you know that as a U.S. citizen, you can apply for funding from foreign governments and international NGOs that are looking to foster diplomatic ties? These awards are massive, often covering travel, housing, and a monthly stipend. Yet the application rates from U.S. students are historically low. In the next part, we are going to reveal the top 3 international funds that are currently looking for American applicants for the 2026 to 2027 academic year. If you have ever dreamed of studying in Europe, Asia, or South America for free, you cannot miss this. While thousands of students are fighting over domestic grants that barely cover the cost of a single semester's textbooks, there is a massive, relatively untapped reservoir of capital waiting for you across the ocean. In 2026, the international scholarship landscape for American students has reached a point of unprecedented opportunity, yet only a tiny fraction of the U.S. student population even considers applying. The misconception that study abroad is a luxury for the wealthy is a historical artifact that needs to be dismantled. In reality, moving your education to a different country for a semester or a year can be the single most effective way to lower your total cost of attendance, while simultaneously skyrocketing your resume's value in a globalized workforce. We are going to deep dive into 3 specific international funds that are actively seeking American applicants right now, in the spring of 2026, and we will break down the exact strategies you need to secure them. First, let us examine the Boren Awards, a flagship initiative of the National Security Education Program. This is not just a study abroad grant. It is an investment in the future of U.S. diplomacy and security. In 2026, the Boren Awards provide up to $25,000 for undergraduate students and up to $30,000 for graduate students to study less commonly taught languages in world regions critical to U.S. interests. We are talking about regions like Africa, Asia, Central and Eastern Europe, Eurasia, Latin America, and the Middle East. If you are a sophomore or junior studying cybersecurity, international relations, or even environmental science, the Boren Award can effectively pay for your entire year of education in a country like Japan, Jordan, or Brazil. Imagine a student named Maya, a junior at a state university in Oregon. Maya is majoring in political science, but has a fascination with the energy infrastructure of Eastern Europe. While her peers are applying for generic $500 local scholarships, Maya spends the spring of 2026 preparing her Boren application for a year of study in Poland. The Boren Award has a unique requirement, the service requirement. In exchange for the funding, you agree to work in the federal government for at least 1 year after graduation. For many students, this is not a burden but a massive career benefit. It provides you with a direct pipeline into agencies like the Department of State, the Department of Defense, or USAID. Historical trends show that Boren scholars have an incredibly high rate of successful placement in federal careers. Step by step, to win a Boren, you must align your study abroad plan with a specific national security interest. This does not have to mean military security. In 2026, national security includes food security, public health, and climate resilience. Your essay must articulate how your time in Warsaw or Tokyo will make you a more effective asset to the United States government. Second, we must discuss the Benjamin A. Gilman International Scholarship Program. If you are a Pell Grant recipient, this is your primary target. In 2026, the Gilman Scholarship provides up to $5,000, with additional supplements for students studying critical need languages or conducting STEM-related research. The beauty of the Gilman is its mission of diversification. They are looking for students who represent the true breadth of the American experience. Students from community colleges, students of color, students with disabilities, and students from rural backgrounds. The Gilman program is currently looking for applicants for the cycle that opens in mid-2026 for programs starting in early 2027. Consider a case study from early 2026. A student named Derek, a first-generation college student from a small town in Kentucky. Derek is studying nursing and never thought he could afford to see the world. By applying for the Gilman and a supplemental STEM grant, he secured $7,000 to participate in a clinical internship in Costa Rica. This didn't just cover his travel, it covered his housing and a living stipend. The key to the Gilman application is the follow-on service project. You must propose a specific plan to promote study abroad and the Gilman Scholarship in your home community or at your university once you return. Derek's plan involved creating a seminar for nursing students at his college about the importance of bilingual healthcare. This focus on giving back to the U.S. community is what makes a Gilman application stand out in a pile of thousands. Third, we have to look at the DAAD, the German Academic Exchange Service. Germany has one of the most robust and well-funded higher education systems in the world, and in 2026, they are aggressively recruiting U.S. students. The DAAD Study Scholarship is a fully funded opportunity for graduating seniors and current graduate students to pursue a master's degree in Germany. They provide a monthly stipend, travel subsidies, and health insurance. Because most German public universities have little to no tuition, the DAAD scholarship effectively makes your entire master's degree free. Imagine if you are a senior in 2026 facing the prospect of another $40,000 in debt for a master's degree in the US. By pivoting to the German system, you could potentially graduate with zero new debt and a degree from a top-tier global university. Step by step, the DAAD application requires you to find a specific program in Germany that aligns with your bachelor's degree. You don't necessarily need to be fluent in German. Many master's programs in engineering, business, and the sciences are taught entirely in English. Your application must include a letter of motivation that explains why Germany is the ideal place for your specific research. Historical data shows that DAAD committees value academic excellence, but they also look for cultural curiosity. They want to see that you have done your homework on the German academic culture, and that you are prepared to be a bridge between the US and German research communities. Now, let us look at the Fulbright US Student Program. This is the most prestigious of the international grants, and the 2027 to 2028 cycle opens in April 2026. This is perfect timing for you to begin your research. Fulbright offers two main types of grants: the English Teaching Assistantship, ETA, and the Study/Research Grant. If you are a current college student who loves mentoring, the ETA is a hidden gem. You are placed in a classroom in one of over 140 countries to help teach English and serve as a cultural ambassador. The Study/Research Grant is for those who want to execute an independent project or enroll in a graduate program abroad. The strategy for Fulbright is all about the statement of grant purpose and the personal statement. You are not just applying for money, you are applying to be a citizen diplomat. In 2026, the Fulbright Committee is looking for individuals who can handle the complexity of international relations with empathy and resilience. You must show that you have a specific plan for community engagement. If you are going to South Korea, how will you interact with the local community outside of your research lab? Will you join a local sports team? Will you volunteer at a community center? These details are what turn a good application into a winning one. To navigate these international waters, you must also be aware of the double-stacking opportunity. Many students don't realize that you can often use your domestic federal financial aid, like the Pell Grant or Stafford loans, to pay for an approved study abroad program, and then stack an international scholarship like the Gilman or Boren on top of it. This can result in a situation where it is actually cheaper for you to live and study in a country with a lower cost of living than it is to stay on your home campus. But as you look across the globe for these opportunities, you must also look at the technicalities. In 2026, international banking and currency fluctuations can impact the value of your scholarship. We are going to show you how to manage a foreign stipend to ensure you aren't losing money to exchange fees. We will also dive into the specifics of the International Student Identity Card, ISIC, and how it can save you thousands on transportation and cultural sites. But more importantly, we need to address the single biggest barrier to winning these awards: the myth of the perfect candidate. You don't need a 4.0 and you don't need to be a polyglot to win. You need a narrative of purpose. In the next part of this masterclass, we are going to shift our focus back to the United States to look at the massive world of corporate partnerships. We are going to reveal the top 5 U.S. companies that are currently offering debt forgiveness scholarships to students who commit to working for them for just 2 years after graduation. This is the closest thing to a clean slate you will find in 2026. We will also examine the secret of the minority professional guilds and how they are distributing millions in funding to students who are underrepresented in high-earning fields like finance and tech. If you are looking for a way to turn your future career into a scholarship machine, Part 8 is where the real work begins. The strategy of the career pipeline is based on a simple but profound shift in perspective. Stop looking for donors who want to help you study and start looking for employers who want to help you work. In 2026, the cost of labor acquisition for major U.S. corporations has surged to such a degree that it is now more cost-effective for a company to pay for your junior and senior years of college than it is for them to hire a headhunter to find a graduate with your specific skill set. This has created a massive, often invisible market of debt forgiveness and tuition repayment programs that operate like scholarships in reverse. While your peers are taking out loans and hoping for a job after graduation, you can secure the job now and have the company pay back the loans you have already accumulated. Imagine a student named Elena, a sophomore studying computer science in Atlanta in 2026. Elena has already taken out $15,000 in federal loans. Instead of waiting until her senior year to look for an internship, she targets the Amazon Career Choice Program. Under the current 2026 guidelines, Amazon provides upfront tuition coverage for select bachelor's degrees and technical certificates for both hourly and full-time associates. By working part-time at an Amazon fulfillment center while completing her degree, Elena not only secures a steady income, but also has her tuition paid directly by the company, preventing any further debt from accumulating. This is a historical trend where companies like Amazon, Walmart, and Target have moved away from traditional reimbursement models, where you pay first and they pay you back, toward a direct bill model where you never see the invoice. Step by step, the career pipeline strategy begins with an audit of the top 50 employers in your specific industry. In 2026, if you are in the automotive or engineering sectors, you should be looking at the SEMA Memorial Scholarship Fund. This is a high-value opportunity that provides up to $5,000 in tuition assistance, but it also features a unique loan forgiveness component. If you are already working for a SEMA member business, which includes thousands of companies across the U.S., they offer awards specifically to help you pay off existing student debt. This is critical for the current student who is already deep in the red. You are not just looking for a scholarship for next semester. You are looking for a company that will wipe the slate clean for the semesters you have already finished. Now let's look at the Boeing model. For students in STEM fields, Boeing represents one of the most aggressive education investors in the country. In 2026, their Learning Together program provides up to $15,000 per year for bachelor's degrees and can go as high as $25,000 for certain graduate programs. The key here is the 100% funding for STEM programs. Boeing doesn't just want you to have a degree, they want you to have a degree that makes you a top-tier aerospace engineer or data scientist. Case studies of Boeing scholars show that this is more than a financial grant. It is a 2-year commitment to the company that includes mentorship and a clear path to a 6-figure starting salary. You are essentially pre-selling your first 2 years of professional life in exchange for a debt-free education. We must also dive into the world of minority professional guilds. In 2026, these organizations have become the primary gatekeepers for corporate social responsibility funds. Organizations like the Hispanic IT Executive Council or the Society of Women Engineers manage multi-million-dollar scholarship portfolios funded by tech giants like Google, Meta, and Microsoft. Take the Blacks at Microsoft Scholarship as a historical case study. This program offers $5,000 per year to students of African descent, and because it is renewable, the potential outcome is a $20,000 reduction in your total tuition bill. But the money is only the surface. These guilds provide a private ecosystem of recruiters. If you are a member of the National Association of Black Accountants, you aren't just applying for a $5,000 scholarship. You are entering a recruitment funnel for the Big Four accounting firms. Consider the scenario of a student named David, a junior in Chicago studying finance. David joins the local chapter of a professional guild and applies for their annual scholarship. During the application process, he is invited to a private networking mixer where he meets a VP from a major investment bank. In 2026, that VP isn't looking at David's GPA as his primary metric. He is looking at David's membership in the guild as a pre-screened indicator of talent and professional alignment. David wins a $3,000 scholarship, but more importantly, he secures a summer internship that pays $15,000. This is the multiplier effect of professional guilds. The scholarship is the foot in the door. The career pipeline is the vault. Step by step, you should join at least 2 professional guilds related to your major today. Don't wait for your senior year. Most of these organizations have student membership fees that are less than $50, and some are free for Pell Grant recipients. Once you are in, look for the foundation arm of the guild. Search for past winners on LinkedIn and see where they are working now. This will tell you which companies are the primary donors to that specific guild. If a guild is heavily funded by Bank of America, and you want to work in finance, that is your primary target. Another hidden goldmine in 2026 is the federal student-to-service model. For those in the healthcare sector, the National Health Service Corps offers a student-to-service loan repayment program. If you are in your final year of medical, dental, or nursing school, you can receive up to $120,000 in loan repayment in exchange for a 3-year commitment to work in a health professional shortage area. This is a massive potential outcome for students who are facing 6-figure debt. Historical data from 2025 indicates that the acceptance rate for these programs is significantly higher than for generic merit scholarships because the service commitment acts as a barrier to entry for less dedicated students. Furthermore, we need to talk about the labor union pipeline. In 2026, as the U.S. reinvests in domestic manufacturing and infrastructure, labor unions have seen a resurgence in funding for their educational wings. If you or a family member belongs to a union like the AFL-CIO or the Teamsters, you have access to specialized scholarship funds that are rarely listed on university websites. These funds are often reserved for current college students who are pursuing degrees that align with the union's industry interests, such as supply chain management, labor law, or civil engineering. This strategy requires you to stop thinking like a student and start thinking like a strategic asset. Every application you submit to a corporate partner or a professional guild is a business proposal. You are telling them, if you invest in my final 2 years of education, I will provide you with a high ROI professional who is already familiar with your company culture and mission. This alignment is what moves you from the pile of thousands of applicants into the select group of winners. In 2026, corporations aren't giving money away because they are generous. They are doing it because they are competing for you. But what if you aren't in a high-demand STEM or finance field? What if you are an arts major or a social science student? In the next part of this masterclass, we are going to explore the world of the weird and niche scholarships. We are going to reveal the specific funds for left-handed students, students who play obscure instruments, and the massive pool of money reserved for people who can prove they are descendants of specific historical figures. We are also going to break down the exact search strings you need to find the scholarships that have 0 applicants this year. If you have ever felt like you didn't fit into the typical corporate mold, Part 9 will show you how to find the money that was literally designed for the outliers. We will also reveal a strategy for creating your own scholarship, a legal and ethical way to crowdfund your tuition using platforms and tax strategies that didn't exist 2 years ago. The next 10 minutes will change how you look at your own personal history forever. The landscape of educational funding in 2026 has evolved to a point where your quirks, your hobbies, and even your escape plans for a fictional disaster can be converted into tuition capital. We are now entering the domain of the niche and the unusual scholarships that 99% of students skip because they assume these awards are jokes or myths. Historical trends in 2025 showed that these weird scholarships often have some of the lowest application-to-award ratios in the country. While millions of students are writing generic essays about leadership for national brands, a handful of students are winning thousands of dollars by writing about ice cream flavors or video games. This is not about getting lucky. It is about recognizing that every facet of your identity has a market value in the philanthropic world. Take, for example, the gaming community. In 2026, the Minecraft Scholarship is a legitimate source of funding for current college students. This $2,000 award, often provided by server hosting companies, asks applicants to write about how the game has influenced their problem-solving skills or career aspirations. For a student like Leo, a sophomore in 2026 majoring in urban planning, this is a direct hit. Leo has spent years building complex virtual cities. By articulating how the game's mechanics taught him about infrastructure and resource management, he isn't just a gamer. He is a specialist. This award is verified and distributed annually to students who can bridge the gap between their digital hobbies and their academic goals. Then there is the Zombie Apocalypse Scholarship. This sounds like an internet prank, but it is a recurring $2,000 fund offered by platforms like Unigo. The prompt asks for a 250-word escape plan in the event of an outbreak on your campus. In 2026, committees use these prompts to test your creativity, your narrative voice, and your ability to follow hyper-specific instructions. Case studies of past winners show that they don't just write a horror story. They write a logically sound, witty, and perfectly formatted strategic plan. If you can handle a zombie outbreak, the committee reasons you can handle the rigors of a senior thesis. These awards are often due on Halloween, a date when most students are focused on social events rather than scholarship deadlines, creating a massive statistical advantage for those who stay disciplined. We also have to look at physical traits. Organizations like Tall Clubs International have been around for decades, but in 2026, their scholarship program remains a hidden pillar for vertically gifted students. Women over 5 feet 10 inches and men over 6 feet 2 inches are eligible for awards that typically range around $1,000. Similarly, the Frederick and Mary F. Beckley Scholarship has a historical legacy of supporting left-handed students at specific institutions like Juniata College. While the pool of left-handed-only scholarships is small, the lesson is universal. Look at your biological and physical attributes. There are funds for students with red hair, students who have overcome specific medical challenges, and even students who are twins or triplets. The depth of this strategy reaches into your lineage and heritage. In 2026, heritage-based organizations are more active than ever. The Kosciuszko Foundation, for instance, provides significant tuition scholarships for American students of Polish descent. To win these, you often need to provide proof of ancestry and write about your commitment to the Polish-American community. This applies to almost every ethnic group in the U.S. Whether you are of Italian, Irish, Armenian, or Japanese descent, there is a professional or cultural guild that wants to support the next generation of their diaspora. Step by step, you should sit down with your parents or grandparents and map out your family tree. Are you a descendant of a veteran? A member of a specific labor union? A survivor of a historical event? Each of these branches is a potential scholarship pipeline. Now, let us pivot to the most modern development in scholarship hunting: crowd-funded education and 529 plan integration. In 2026, platforms like Gift of College have revolutionized how students receive financial support. This is a legal and ethical way to crowdfund your tuition that goes far beyond a generic GoFundMe page. These platforms allow you to link your existing 529 college savings plan to a public-facing profile. Friends, family, and even anonymous donors can contribute directly to your 529 plan, and in many states, these contributions are tax-advantaged. Imagine if you are a student named Chloe, a junior in 2026. Instead of asking for gifts for your birthday or graduation, you share a link to your Gift of College profile. Because the money goes directly into a 529 plan, it is treated as a gift for tax purposes. Historical trends in 2025 indicate that the average student can raise between $500 and $3,000 a year through this type of microphilanthropy. But you must be aware of the 2026 tax implications. The IRS annual gift tax exclusion for 2026 is $19,000 per donor. This means an individual can give you up to $19,000 in a single year without any federal gift tax consequences. Furthermore, you must understand the reporting requirements. In 2026, if you use a third-party payment processor like PayPal or Venmo to receive funds for your education, and those payments exceed $600, you will likely receive a Form 1099-K. This does not necessarily mean the money is taxable income. If the funds were given out of detached generosity with no service rendered in exchange, they are classified as gifts. However, you must keep impeccable records. Step by step, if you are crowdfunding your tuition, you should maintain a folder with every transaction, a copy of your crowdfunding page showing its educational purpose, and a record of the tuition bills the money was used to pay. This documentation is your shield in the event of an IRS inquiry. We also have to discuss the superfunding rule for 529 plans. In 2026, a donor can choose to front-load 5 years of gifts into your account at once. This means a grandparent could potentially contribute up to $95,000 in a single year without triggering the gift tax, by treating the contribution as if it were spread over 5 years. This is a high-level financial strategy that can wipe out the cost of an entire degree in one move. If you have relatives who are looking for ways to reduce their taxable estate while helping you graduate debt-free, this is the specific terminology you need to use with them. The final layer of the niche market is the contest-based scholarship. These are not about your identity but about your output. The Stuck at Prom Scholarship, sponsored by Duck Brand, offers up to $10,000 for students who create their own formal wear entirely out of duct tape. In 2026, this contest has become a showcase for high-end fashion and engineering. Then there is the Ocean Awareness Contest, which awards up to $1,500 for students who use art, poetry, or film to address climate change. These are high effort, but the historical data shows that the effort acts as a massive filter. Most students see the work required and walk away. If you are the one who stays and executes, your chances of winning are exponentially higher than in any random draw scholarship. This part of the masterclass is about moving beyond the standard definition of a student. You are a creative problem solver, a gamer, a tall person, a descendant of a proud lineage, and a beneficiary of modern tax-advantaged crowdfunding. When you stack these niche opportunities on top of the departmental grants and professional guild awards we discussed earlier, you begin to see how a debt-free degree is built, $1,000 at a time. But there is one final piece of the puzzle that most students ignore until it is too late. It is the long-term management of these funds and the psychological transition from being a student in debt to being a professional with a surplus. As we enter the final part of this series, we are going to look at the exit strategy. We will show you how to handle any surplus scholarship money you may have at graduation, the specific rules for rolling over 529 funds into a Roth IRA that were expanded in late 2025, and how to use your scholarship wins as a leverage tool for your first salary negotiation. We are also going to reveal the one mistake that can cause the government to come back and ask for all your scholarship money to be repaid. If you have successfully found the hidden money, you need to know how to keep it. Part 10 starts now. The final stage of your scholarship journey is not the day the check clears. It is the strategic management of that capital to ensure it serves your long-term financial health. In 2026, the intersection of tax law, financial aid policy, and retirement planning has created a unique window of opportunity for students who graduate with a surplus. Most students assume that if they have extra scholarship money, they should simply spend it on a post-graduation trip or a new car. This is a fundamental error that can lead to unexpected tax liabilities and missed opportunities for generational wealth. We are going to break down the Secure 2.0 Act's most powerful provision for students, the 529 to Roth IRA rollover, and how to navigate the pitfalls that could lead to the IRS clawing back your funds. First, let us address the most significant legislative change affecting students in 2026. Under the guidelines that fully matured this year, if you have a 529 college savings account that has been open for at least 15 years, you can roll over up to $35,000 of unused funds into a Roth IRA for the beneficiary. This is a revolutionary potential outcome for students who worked hard to win hidden scholarships, while their parents or grandparents saved in a 529 plan. Imagine a student named Sarah, a senior graduating in May 2026. Because Sarah followed the strategies in this masterclass, She won $20,000 in departmental and private scholarships, leaving her 529 account with a $15,000 surplus. In the past, Sarah would have faced a 10% penalty and income tax on the earnings if she withdrew that money for non-educational purposes. But in 2026, Sarah can begin rolling that money directly into a Roth IRA, tax-free and penalty-free, subject to annual contribution limits. This means that by the age of 22, Sarah is not just debt-free, she has a $15,000 head start on her retirement. Historical trends show that $15,000 invested at 22 can grow into hundreds of thousands by retirement age due to the power of compound interest. Step by step, the rules for this rollover are strict. The account must have been open for 15 years, and you cannot roll over contributions made in the last 5 years. You must coordinate with your financial advisor to ensure the rollover is executed as a direct trustee-to-trustee transfer to avoid any tax withholding. However, we must also discuss the danger zone: scholarship fraud and the repayment trap. In 2026, the Department of Education and the IRS have increased their oversight of scholarship disbursement to ensure that funds are being used for legitimate educational expenses. If you receive a scholarship that is restricted to tuition and fees, but you use that money to pay for your off-campus rent or a personal laptop that was not required by your syllabus, you are technically in violation of the award terms. In a worst-case scenario, if the donor or the university conducts an audit, they can demand the immediate repayment of the full award. Case studies from 2025 highlight students who were forced to pay back thousands of dollars because they could not provide receipts for the expenses they claimed. To protect yourself, you must maintain a digital audit trail. Step 1. Every time you receive a scholarship check, scan the accompanying letter and save it in a dedicated folder. This letter will explicitly state if the funds are restricted or unrestricted. Step 2. Keep every single receipt for books, lab supplies, software, and tuition payments. In 2026, many students use specialized apps to automatically categorize these expenses. If the IRS ever questions your scholarship income, having a folder with 3 years of organized receipts is your absolute defense. Now, let us look at the taxability of the surplus. Under IRS Publication 970, which remains the gold standard in 2026, scholarships are tax-free only if you are a degree candidate and the money is used for qualified education expenses. These include tuition, fees, books, and equipment required for your courses. Any amount used for room and board, travel, or optional equipment is considered taxable income. This means if you win a $5,000 scholarship and use $3,000 for tuition and $2,000 for your dorm, you must report that $2,000 as income on your tax return. Failure to do so can result in penalties and interest. A pro tip for 2026. If you have a choice, always ask the university to apply your scholarship funds to tuition and fees first, and use your own taxable income or savings to pay for room and board. This minimizes your taxable scholarship portion. We also have to discuss the psychological leverage of being a scholarship winner in your first job negotiation. In 2026, employers are not just looking for a degree. They are looking for evidence of initiative. When you sit down for a salary negotiation, you should mention your scholarship record. Tell them, "I was able to secure $30,000 in private and departmental funding through competitive applications during my time at the University of Michigan." This demonstrates to the hiring manager that you are a high-value asset who knows how to identify opportunities, write persuasively, and compete at a high level. It changes the narrative from "I need a job" to "I am a proven winner who brings a strategic mindset to your team." For the students who are still mid-degree, the final strategy is the reinvestment loop. If you win a scholarship that creates a surplus in your personal bank account because your tuition was already covered, do not treat that money as disposable income. Historically, the most successful students use that surplus to fund their next level of search. They use it to pay for professional association memberships, travel to conferences where they can meet more donors, or even to pay for a professional editor to review their graduate school applications. You are treating your scholarship wins as a venture capital fund for your own future. As we conclude this 10-part deep dive masterclass, we have covered the architecture of departmental wealth, the psychology of the selection committee, the tactical maneuvers to avoid displacement, and the legislative changes of 2026 that allow you to turn a surplus into a retirement account. The common thread across all these strategies is the transition from a passive student to an active financial architect. The money is there. Millions of dollars go unassigned every year because students stop looking after their freshman year. By watching this series, You now have the blueprint to navigate the hidden corners of the U.S. financial aid system. The problem of the high cost of education in the United States is complex, but it is not insurmountable for the student who is willing to do the research that others won't. You have learned how to talk to deans, how to leverage your lineage, and how to protect your wins from the IRS. Your next step is to take the spreadsheet you started in Part 1 and fill it with the 10 most relevant niche opportunities we discussed today. Set your deadlines, draft your first STAR method essay, and begin the process of lowering your overhead. The journey to a debt-free degree is a marathon of small strategic actions. If you have found value in this masterclass, your ultimate follow-up is to share this knowledge with one peer who is struggling with the burden of loans. In 2026, we are building a community of students who refuse to be defined by their debt. If you are ready to move beyond the classroom and into the high-stakes world of professional networking and postgraduate success, we have an entire series coming up on how to land six-figure roles in a competitive market without a traditional internship. We will reveal the secret of the shadow network and how to use your scholarship donor list as a direct line to the executives who are hiring right now. Your education is paid for. Now it is time to get paid for your education. See you in the next series.